we will turn it back over to the applicant and the commission for further conversation. And depending on whether the commission feels that it has enough information to act on the application, we may or may not close the public hearing and take action on the meeting tonight. If there are, a lot of unanswered questions or information that we still need, we may continue the public hearing to the next meeting. First item on the agenda is 3.1, public hearing on application number 2070-21Z, Town of Weathersfield, seeking a zoning text amendment to section 7.2, yard exception for fences of the Weathersfield zoning regulations. I think given the number of other applications on the agenda tonight, and I had actually talked to Peter about this ahead of time, we thought it made sense to, just open this hearing and continue it to the next meeting without getting into the substance of it. We can receive the correspondence and so forth, but take it up at a future time when we'll have the opportunity to give it the time and attention that it deserves without forcing a captive audience to sit here and watch us do that. And Peter, it would be helpful for him to put together some to help with the application. So I guess I would open the application and ask if someone would make a motion to continue it to our April 20th meeting.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman. Tony Helmeke.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Thank you. Next item, 3.2, public hearing, application number 2071-21Z, 5.2F, 5.8A, and 6.2C8F regarding breweries and brew pubs. Is the applicant here to discuss this tonight?
I sure am.
Okay. Could you just give us your name and address for the record, please?
Yep. My name is Micah Kerr, M-I-C-A-H-K-E-R-R. You can probably read it off the screen. My address is 553 Maple Street in Weathersfield. I am the owner of Boondoggle Beers, which I base out of my home currently here in town, and I am in the process of trying to begin doing production in town, but at a commercial location in the middle of the village. So with that, Mr. Gillespie, said I needed to add the brewery use to the current text for the zoning laws and add the brew pub use as well. And so I think he said it was pretty straightforward, that I probably shouldn't put together didn't need to put a big presentation together, we agreed on that. So it's pretty straightforward in my opinion, but as the proposal suggests, we're going to add the definition of a brewery to the town code, and because there's currently none there now. And the brewery definition that we have here is the same one that the state uses. There is currently just one beer manufacturing license at the state. They simplified it a couple of years back. I think Mr. Gillespie sent that to all the commissioners, so you're aware of that history. I think I was on that email. That's the only reason I know. I also added brew pub as a description, which is typically a loosely described thing, but it seems that we we're coming into a fairly standard context now where it means a brewery with a restaurant. Back when we dealt with the separation of production breweries and breweries that would be like open to the public, it was different, but I think with it just simply a brewery, all breweries are created equal at the new state level. So the brew pub adds an addition that there would be on-site food production. I thought we needed that obviously also with the COVID regulations, and we know some of those might stick and don't know which one. So it's best to have the brew pub definition on there separately. In Article 5 for the different business zones and uses, we're looking at the permitted uses specifically in 5.2 subsection F, which is the hospitality uses. Brewery and brew pub function, it, like I said, is again the same. So if just one has additional food production in it, and the recommendation that the committee that came up with this, hold on, my apology, I don't have my phone on vibrate or anything. But in the hospitality section, you can see village business, town center, office park didn't allow restaurants or anything like that, so we thought keep it that way. The general business and regional commercial, there's no reason they can't function as well as a brewery location, and business park is pretty much where most of the breweries in Connecticut are based. So that pretty straightforward in the hospitality world. Any questions before I keep going, or comments? No? Okay. We also, in the alcoholic beverages section, had to add the brewery permit on there. So that's item number 7, I guess, which is the manufacturer permit for beer. And I think what is 8 brew pubs. I think I might be looking at my own copy, not what was sent down. Special permit is required for all these uses.
It's the same thing.
Pardon?
It was the same thing
Okay.
that was sent out.
Yep. I'm looking at my Word doc, unfortunately, so I'm like making sure it's this special permit is required to anything alcohol related in town. I think the way that the code was written, there was a little section in there about anything that this document doesn't pertain to specifically requires a special permit. And so what we've all really done here is just codify it, instead of it being in that category of hospitality use that we haven't yet imagined, because let's be fair, in 10 years, some kind of 3D hologram experience might be the new axe throwing joint, and we don't have codes for that. So, but breweries are where we're at now, and I think adding it to the town code is fair enough. I know that I am one of just 3 parties currently looking to do so in town, and this will help all of us. You, as the commission, still have complete voting control over the individual properties that we propose said use for. So how this is stated is to protect the town. You can always, as the commissioners, ask for changes in the site plan approval process. So it's, facing the highest level of scrutiny on your part. Parking rules associated with the breweries, we took the same as for the rest of the hospitality uses, the restaurant ones anyway, because it is a restaurant or the cafe, all of them have the same 1 to 3. Hotels and motels being the only different, which of course makes no sense for this. So we used the same one there, and yeah, nightclubs, taverns, cocktail lounges, breweries, and brew pubs. And I think that is it. I don't know. I don't want to. There's no complicating this. We've got about 130, 140 breweries out there in the state. Most towns have these codes in already, and In fact, when I wrote this up, I took it from Rocky Hill, as many of you know.
Yeah, I guess my question to start with is, why did you pick the nightclubs rather than the restaurants for the brew pub parking requirement?
I didn't. I don't, I think that was what was discussed here, or it was what, when I sent a draft to a few folks at the town. I know Peter was the point person there. But yeah, I mean, I think it's the same for parking, is it not?
No.
Nightclubs have.
No, it's based on square footage for the non-restaurant ones.
Oh, wait, okay, so.
Tables for the restaurants.
Right, that's right. The reason being for that was that nightclub type situations happen oftentimes, excuse me, in a large type warehouse building, meaning as in industrial space, if you will, or less finished space. Restaurants are always much more finished, often have structured seating with like benches and stuff. So maybe my memory is a little off there, but it was the better choice, because while a nightclub and a tavern and a cocktail lounge can have a restaurant in it, a restaurant is a specific use, sit-down dining, where you need a table to be a customer there. Whereas in the nightclubs and such, cocktail lounges, you don't need a table. You can function with less space.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I sent this out like 3 weeks ago for.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was just for parking. So I don't, I think the number ends up the same, because for a table, when they use the 15 square feet per customer ratio, it, I believe, comes out to be very close to that 35 square feet per space.
Okay.
Will a brewery be
Any other
allowed?
members that-
Yes. George here. Will the brewery have to be a large building at all? No. It can be anything from a small tavern type facility to.
Yep. It could literally be a strip mall location. It is currently, well, within the zoning, rules, but in the state of Connecticut right now, we have quite a few breweries that exist in retail strip malls, for what I call them, but retail centers. They're also in industrial parks. They're in old industrial mills. They're in downtown Main Street restaurant type buildings as well. So it's really runs the gambit.
Yes, in fact, I saw a new one up in New Hampshire off of Route 93 this weekend when I was up there seeing my daughter. She took me out to show it because I mentioned I was going to seeing this Tuesday, and this is brand new. It's actually like a downtown mixed use, which is the kind of thing we've been talking about at the commission, with storage facilities and mixed use retail, residential. And this actually had a brewery there, and it was a sizable, decent part of the structure, but a beautiful situation, a separate community, and that was like a brand new village, and with a lot of retail businesses along with it, so forth and so on. Not that we're going to have anything like that in Weathersfield, but it, this was a decent sized structure, the brewery part. So at least I think it was.
It becomes a pretty significant economic driver in the communities we've found. I'm not going to try to, tell you all about that. You work with enough other towns to know that, it is one of the, has been the last 5 or 10 years, one of the fastest growing segments in our economy is that the craft brewing industry has really taken off here in Connecticut and as a whole on a nationwide level. Creates a ton of jobs. They have lobbyists that talk about it, but it doesn't matter. I'm just, quite frankly, looking to give my my business, which I've been running with for 3+ years, a brick and mortar presence in the town I live in, and activate my favorite vacant building. So this is just the first step. So
Okay.
if I'm lucky, I have a lot of shared friends like that, but I don't think I have the building to do it. Are there any other questions or
Anyone
comments, concerns?
Mr. Kerr, Tony Helmke here.
Yes, sir.
At our last meeting, you implied that there's other towns that have implemented different standards and different regulations. Is there any reason why we should hold out and look and compare this with other towns? Or are you confident that we've nailed it here?
I'm confident because when we look at it, we looked at what the other towns had done, and it included looking at it. And this was, again, Peter, for me, it doesn't matter as long as there's a gateway to open a brewery, right? So how it's done, honestly, I took more of a look at it as a town resident, is to say, as long as it covers the uses, right? And a brewery can be, and I don't want to mince words, it can be truly an industrial use. But when you're talking about that kind of a project, you as the zoning folks, everyone here, has to review the site plan, has to review the special permit, and has to have environmental approvals. The federal government has to regulate a brewery. Even my little brewery, which I'll be proposing at one of the next few meetings, goes through federal scrutiny. We need to identify what we're going to do with our wastewater and our waste grains. It is part of the federal permitting process. So as a business, I would say if you and or future generations of you, the volunteers who are helping to, shape our town and through the different changes that come up in zoning, if you guys have faith in yourselves and those beyond you to make the right decision on a project by project basis, no matter what, based on these codes, you will need to review anyone who is manufacturing beer, period. If anyone manufactures beer on a commercial level in the town of Weathersfield, the folks on the commission will get a say. So to that, it's airtight, right? I'm personally happy to submit my business to the highest level of scrutiny as I go into town, as it should be in the oldest historic village.
Excellent. And can you tell us what the relationship you have so far with 245 Main Street?
I'd say we're dating, we're pretty serious, we're thinking about taking it to the next level. We have a marriage license that's not yet signed. But no, besides that, I've looked through the windows 100 times like most everyone else in town. I've now spent a lot of time inside of it. I have plans that are nearly completed, just got to finish up the details and get the stamps and bring them down to town for a change of use with a patio. Be about 120 seats on the inside, on the ground floor, nothing going on the upper floor at present because there's too much work that needs to be done to activate that second floor legally. So I'm effectively just going to close, fix the problems and kind of close it off for a future project. But and a nice big patio facing the parking lot at Village Pizza, which not the best view, but I figure it is an institution and people will go get slices from time to time. So hopefully often.
The only other question I have is to George about the beer in New Hampshire, but I'll ask him that in a minute.
Yeah, I was going to say, George, what's the brewery?
That's not my, we don't want to distract from the meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's, I guess, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for the applicant?
Denise, anybody in town want to write in on this or comment on it?
Hi, everybody. I am Stephanie, and this is my husband, John Mears. We are owners of Direct Proof Brewing and are actually looking into coming into 207 Church Street in Weathersfield as well. I am a long-term resident of Weathersfield. I went to Corpus Christi. I graduated Weathersfield High. My parents still live in the back of Comstock Ferry on Hartford Avenue. I actually took dance class at Miss Pim's, which was in the Masonic Hall, and ate pizza over at Village Pizza every Monday for 3 hours. I would go over there. So I am very excited that this is being brought to the town and that we could be a part of this, because to give back to the community, something that they're going to highly enjoy is just, I'm shaking in excitement right now. So we just wanted to come and introduce ourselves and say that we are in full support of these new regulations. And we have a full support team of people in town who are also rooting us on and definitely want to bring the town something as great as this. So, thank you.
I should add,
Thank you.
with Stephanie and commenting for her and John,
Does anyone else wish to speak?
I'm remiss to say there is another brewery that is looking to open in town as well, and I have spoken with them, and so we tend to look at each other as a positivity, and when there's 3 breweries in the same town, you're going to get more visitors, and all of the other businesses in town will benefit as a result. The rising tide raises all ships.
Hi,
You're absolutely right.
if I could just say really quick, this is Julia and Spiro Coloris of Comstock Ferry.
Yeah.
And we are in favor of the new regulations. We would love to be able to be brewing some beer in some shape or form at some point. And so we're really excited and totally on board and happy to have this be part of our town.
Oh, snap back just as soon as you said something. Still with us, Rich?
Yeah, I'm gonna try calling in again. I keep getting thrown out.
Looked like you were taking a nap for us, Rich, but that's okay.
Yeah, I wish.
What are you doing? This is the beer one.
Yeah, not on this topic.
He's not that old.
Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
How's everyone? Brady, 1618 Church Street. I am highly in favor of the businesses in town. We would like the commission to consider or take a strong look at this, because I think everyone has to look at we have parking. We have a parking.
Having some trouble hearing you, and we're not really getting.
Breaking up, yes, Mr. Chair.
I'm not the only one, right?
Are you hearing me better?
Yeah, I think we're hearing you a little bit better without the video.
Okay, hold on. Let me.
Turn the video back off and try again.
Are you guys hearing me a little bit better?
Did that work?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you, Rich.
All right. Sorry about that. What did I miss?
Actually nothing, because we had a little technical difficulty there, but try again, sir.
Good night. Well, good evening. This is Paul Brady from 1618 Church Street.
You're coming in well now.
Are you hearing me a lot better?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, Paul, we can hear you.
Thank you. While I am very in favor of that old building being transformed because God knows it's an eyesore in the community, and something needs to be done about it. I would like the commission to spend a little time, or I should say an extensive amount of time with the town attorney to figure out how this fits into our codes, number one, and also what the overall impact is going to be on the community. I'm sure everyone is aware that we have a huge parking issue in the historic district, especially the summer months. And so I want everyone to be mindful of that as we move forward with this. I think Micah has great ideas, and I will say he's been one of the most, I would say, empathetic people that have tried to move into that building, and he's going about this very respectfully, and we are very grateful for that. However, do take into consideration that whatever decision the town makes or zoning board of appeal makes will be a lasting effect on the community, and how it's going to affect the residential streets that are nearby is something else that I highly think that everyone should take into consideration as far as traffic and the impact that will happen to quality of life. One way or another, that will all change. And I know we want to get this building back on the tax rolls, and
Pardon me, Paul, if I will. This isn't about my proposal at the building. This current subject is about simply the use of breweries within the town of Weathersfield. So anything related to 245 Main Street and the center of town is not particularly of subject, nor is the old auction house, etc.
I 100%.
Thanks. Just making sure.
And thank you for all of that. But I do want the board overall to really consider this on what are the requirements going to be for a brewery and where a brewery can be in the town of Weathersfield. That's really the substance here of because whatever you allow to be placed in the code is going to affect everyone in town, and that's pretty much it. So thank you for your time, and that's what I have to say tonight.
Okay, thanks very much. Before I started not being at the meeting, one of the things that I did want to mention was that, although some of the documentation talked about 245 Main Street, all we're talking about tonight is the text amendment to allow these two particular uses in various zones in the town of Weathersfield. And, as kind of a legislative matter, if we decide that that's something that we want to do, sort of at the 30,000 foot level, with the understanding that when any of the folks, who have spoken and any others who haven't, may wish to come in and apply for a brewery or a brew pub at any particular location, all of the issues related to how it impacts traffic, how it impacts parking, how it impacts the neighborhood, the appropriateness in the zone, compatibility with the neighborhood, and all that sort of stuff, will be front and center before the commission in terms of making its decision on a special permit application. But, as we sit here tonight, the issue is just basically, are we going to allow these two uses, within specific zones in the town of Weathersfield? Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this application, or any other questions from the commission members?
Rich, and this is to Denise, do you and Peter think that the parking requirements and other things that go with a brewery are adequate as they're proposed here? For example, that's one item about impact on the community.
I mean, I think that we are comfortable, and then on, a case-by-case basis, as an application would come in for a property, we would review their specific situation.
Right. But you feel they could be covered by our general zoning requirements on retail and this kind of use. Okay, good, fine, thank you.
Okay, thanks, George. Does anyone else have any questions either for the applicant or for Denise or for anyone else?
I can ask Denise a quick question. On the bottom of Peter's memo dated March 31st, he references that we might need to review the provisions under 5.8 alcoholic beverages in response to the statutory changes. Is that just an open observation, or is it something we'll talk about when the application is coming before us?
Tony, this is Peter. I am here, so happy to answer that question for you. Now, it was a sort of an anecdotal note that when the statutes were overhauled a year and a half ago, or whenever that was, that kind of slipped through the cracks for us. And I think at a separate point in time in the future, we'll need to circle back and probably comprehensively review and revise our alcoholic liquor regulations separately from this.
Great, thanks.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talk about different types of permits that no longer exist.
That's correct.
Thanks, Peter. Does anyone else have anything they want to say on this application before we close the public hearing?
Hi, this is David Drick. Just a quick question. Make sure you understand it. I'm kind of all for this. I don't have a real issue with it, but wouldn't a brewery be separate than a brew pub? I know they're looking for both, but wouldn't a brewery be a manufacturer and a brew pub be a restaurant? Wouldn't they be treated differently? Or is it typically treated the same together?
As you see in the application, there are two separate definitions added. So it differentiates the use from a brewery to a brew pub.
Okay, so they will be separate then.
They are separate, however, their general usage in terms of where within the zones, it was suggested that they were the same, would be the same.
I think what you had in mind was just creating the possibility that there may be somebody who wants to build a brewery that doesn't want to have a brew pub.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, again, that'd be like a factory of some sort, which is fine. It's just a different type of thing. And that's why I was wondering, are they appropriate to be together? I kind of think they are, but in the same sense, I could kind of think they're not either. So, but that's fine. I'm just trying to get a sense of it.
In that spirit, let me just correct something kind of that was just said. It might be easy to think that a brewery does not involve a customer-facing element. However, a brew pub it means that they're serving food. In addition to brewing beer and serving that, the brew pub, the brewery, the manufacturer's beer permit, which is the only one the state has for breweries, allows for, again, within the state of Connecticut, allows for the sale on retail, wholesale, and it allows for that to go. So it allows for customer contact at the location. A brew pub doesn't mean you just go there and drink beer. You have to have a restaurant for it to be a brew pub. And the only reason I included that is in Connecticut, a lot of breweries had not operated any food operations whatsoever until COVID regulations required them to do so. And because of that, several of those companies took a hiatus or had to revamp and add some form of food. And I think you might recall there was an argument about substantive food from the governor's office about chicken wings and such. But that notwithstanding is there is a clear separation. So it doesn't mean it will be, a brewery would only be proposed in a dark corner of town and be like a factory. It could very well be a small place that just doesn't have room for a kitchen that wants to manufacture and sell beer at retail and by the pint to consumers.
And they'd want the consumers there near them. So you may even see these near shopping centers or in shopping areas. Like I saw in this new area up in New Hampshire.
Absolutely.
What Mike had said, I can't imagine a single example of even like a production brewery.
Sorry, Mike?
But just to kind of add to what Michael was saying, I can't imagine like a single example of even like a production brewery by definition that does not have a customer-facing aspect, even like a tap room experience in retail beer, even if it is like as David pointed out, like a factory.
Yeah, but again, we're putting rules in place for a brewery. So that's why I'm saying, to a certain sense, they need to be separate. Example is, I'm getting old like here, the big building on Southside Highway that made frozen food. That's been, been around for, doesn't do it anymore. Weight Watchers, probably. A brewery wouldn't be any different than that.
Correct.
However, even like, as Micah pointed out, I think the differential is whether they provide food on premise or not.
Oh, no, there's a difference. Again, we have breweries and a brew pub, and he wants them both, I understand it, but I'm just saying they are separate.
Yeah, and I'm effectively, I'm asking for two additions, so, right.
Correct.
It is separate intentionally. We added that after we went back, after we first met with the committee, we added the second use to define it more clearly.
Yeah, you're good. It makes sense what you're doing. It makes sense.
And again, you guys will get to review literally every single proposal that comes forward in a manufacturer of alcohol process. So that also is convenient.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. I mean, if somebody comes in and basically wants to open up a beer factory, we would treat it differently than something smaller, but to have the opportunity to have the two different uses, the two different permits is a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else, any members of the commission, members of the public have anything that they want to say or ask before we close the hearing? If not, someone like to make a motion?
Question I had,
Sure.
hello, question I had was, are there any odors that come out, like when you're, I don't know, fermenting the hops or you're creating the beer? Just a general question.
The answer is yes. Inherently, there's odors. It's a manufacturing process, but I don't know how familiar you are with in downtown Hartford. There is a brewery right on Main Street there called City Steam. It's been there for 30 years. They've been brewing their beer. That is it's a 20-barrel brew house, if memory serves. I think it's actually in metric, but that is a large brewery. They at one time produce as much as 10,000 barrels a year in that building before they switched over to doing some contract brewing. And when they were making that much beer, there was nobody in town complaining about the smell. So it comes out in the form of steam, and for the most part, the odor does, I should say, and it's during the boiling process, and it smells not too dissimilar from baking bread, but it can have worse odors, right? I mean, the absolute worst smell that comes out of the brewing process is what we do with our waste grains, but that's something that the federal government has regulation over that. And as the zoning community, it's a question I would recommend you ask to everyone who comes in front of you with a permit, because there needs to be a plan. So my plan is to bring it over to Hayes Farms. We've already talked about it, so hopefully I don't have any spent grain sitting around for more than a few hours, so it still just smells like loaves of bread, as opposed to, 2 days later where it might smell like pig slop. I don't know.
Okay,
I'm just making an assumption. It's not that bad though, so.
okay.
No, there's no discernible issues. If you haven't, I guess, search your news. I haven't heard of much. I don't think there's ever really been much complaint that I've ever heard of. But I'm not gonna tell you there's none.
Okay. All right, well, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we use condensing towers also on the brewing equipment. So, because we don't want to lose all that heat energy anyway, that creates inefficiency in our process. So, but,
Okay.
it
Yeah.
certainly happens.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else?
Go
All right.
comment in-
Yeah?
If I could just make a comment in support, I think we've all kind of noticed that these breweries have been like an economic driver in a lot of like neighboring communities. And I think the application that's presented kind of allows us to kind of take these breweries on a case-by-case basis. As Micah said, a lot of them, they take on best practices and they'll get rid of that spent grain really quick. As Yolanda was asking, if you leave like any organic matter, if you leave it sitting out in back of the building, for days on end, it's going to stink. So I guess, just on a case-by-case basis, as long as we do our due diligence as a committee, then, shouldn't be an issue. So I just want to just encourage my fellow commissioners, I'm just strongly in support of this application.
Okay, thanks. Does anyone else have anything they want to either say or ask before we close the hearing?
Mr. Chairman, could you get the names and addresses of the public that have spoken, Stephen and John and then Julia? I don't know what addresses for the minutes for the next meeting.
Okay, Stephanie and John, what was your address?
We're at 47 Pine Glen Road, Glen with one N, in Simsbury, Connecticut.
Okay, thank you. And Julia?
This is Spiro Chloris. We are at 67 Hartford Ave in Weathersfield.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right, anything else? If not, is there a motion to close the hearing?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman. Tony Homeke.
Okay,
Second,
motion by
Mr.
Tony.
Chairman.
Motion by Tony, second by George. Since we have 10 people and he hasn't said anything yet tonight, I'll ask Hazim if he'll sit out this application and I'll rotate the alternates through on the next ones. So, all in favor of closing the hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, hearing's closed. Does anyone care to make a motion to start discussion?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the zoning text amendment regarding breweries and brew pubs within application number 2071-21Z. I can't think of any other amendments or anything else to add. I think that should be it in concert with what Peter's memo was very thorough and very detailed. That's my motion.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
The only other thing I can think of that you might want to add is to have the effective date be April 30th.
I will add that. April 30th is good. George, you okay with that?
Okay.
Yes, I am.
All right. Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Thank you very much. Next item, 3.3, public hearing, application number 207221Z, Jonathan Makowski, seeking a special permit in accordance with section 73A5B, expansion of a non-conforming use of the Weathersfield zoning regulations to add a first floor addition to a single-family dwelling in the AG zone at 135 Elm Street. Mr. Makowski.
Good
The
evening.
floor is yours.
So,
Okay.
it's pretty straightforward. I think there was a plan sent out to everyone that you can refer to. I'm seeking a expansion of non-conforming use for my property, zoned agricultural, so the setbacks and expansion of the building is subject to approval from the various committees. I already got the approval through the Zoning Board of Appeals. That was for the side yard variance, and they're noted on the plan. I'm skipping here. I'm going to just read them off here. So it's side yard, setback, building coverage, and then the expansion of non-conforming use being this hearing now. I also had to go through the Inland Wetlands Commission, which also was approved because this does land in flood zone AE as well as being zoned agricultural. So we have provisions in place to keep the addition up out of the floodplain, minimizing any impact to the actual flood zone. There will be crushed stone underneath for compensatory storage, as well as a rain garden placed on site to mitigate any water buildup and help that permeate back into the soil. That's about it. The intention of the addition is to create a first floor master bedroom for myself and my wife, just creating a little more space so we can, raise our family. We recently had a son, so we need a little more room. There's also it's contingent upon being able to purchase a plot of land from my neighbor, David Anderson of Anderson Farms. We do have a contract signed, and that was contingent on the Zoning Board of Appeals approval. So when that approval happened last week, or March 22nd, that contract became live. So I'm in the process of finishing that land deal. So we've done a title search and it's working with my attorney to complete that portion. As we all know, that takes time. That's about it. I'm open to any questions, comments. I can try to answer anything, any concerns anyone has.
Okay. Either Peter or Denise, I guess just so that we understand the context, the reason this is before us is because of extending a non-conforming use in the flood zone, rather than anything having to do with, what the ZBA usually does, allowing variances anyway. It's just because it's in the flood zone?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
To further that, Rich, Denise, do you recall, and you've been around enough now to know, have there ever been any other requests like this in the flood zone?
Not that I
Expansions
can-
of residential, is what I'm saying, or anything like this?
Not that I can recall specifically offhand.
I can't either. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I have a comment here. Okay, are we hearing from the applicant or whatever? No. Right, I'll open the questions from the commission? Okay, or issues?
Yeah, you can go.
Okay. I was chairman of the commission back in 1980 when we eliminated residential use in the floodplain. Now, that doesn't mean you don't grandfather locations like this, but to expand residential bothers me a little bit. Now, I'm not ready to vote against this, but I get concerned when we start expanding residential in the floodable areas. Although when I went down there today, and you can't observe and know what's floodable and what isn't. I know that whole area behind this house, Connecticut General was going to come in there at one point. There are places where buildings would be above the flood levels and areas where it isn't. So I am not concerned with this upper part of the floodplain exactly as much, but I do get concerned with expanding residential use. But again, this is a grandfathered use in a home there, and since grandfather meaning it's been there, and I guess expanding it one room or a room and a half, it's not a negative thing. It's not building new, and it's not a significant expansion. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
No, and I think those are good points. I mean, and I think, from the perspective of, we're talking about the flood zone, the fact that it's, it's elevated above the flood zone and has, a floodway underneath it and, compensatory cuts to go with any fills that, might be associated with it. I think they've, mitigated any negative impacts that might be associated with the expansion of the non-conforming use, vis-a-vis the flood zone itself. Does anyone else on the commission have any questions for the applicant? If not, are there any members of the public that wish to comment on this application?
I would just like to state for the record, I don't think I stated, my name's Jonathan Makowski at 135 Elm Street, Connecticut, as the applicant. I didn't state my name before, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone in the public? Going once? All right, if not, are there any follow-up additional questions from the commission members?
Rich, this is David, and maybe this is just curiosity, but I might have missed it when I read through, but what are you getting the extra land for? Just to give you some more space on that side, or I'm not sure why and maybe it doesn't make any difference now. I don't know.
The intention was to lessen the side yard. If I didn't get that, my side yard would essentially be about 4.5 feet. So my intention was to get a little bit extra to mitigate the need for the variance. Unfortunately, Mr. Anderson didn't want to sell me, a large parcel of his land, which is understandable. But it was just to, make that side yard a little wider to try to get it more conforming with other residential zonage.
Yeah, so he's pretty nice to you then. That was a nice thing he did. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a small piece. He doesn't farm it, so and he can use it. It's not a, we have a pretty good understanding.
I understand. No. Very nice, but yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
So just curious. So your addition that you're proposing is about the finished floor elevation is about 2 feet above the flood elevation. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It would be, I think 18 inches. It's a foot is the minimum. We'd like to get a little bit above the 1 foot minimum.
It seemed that you were above, which is good. And also, so the finished floor of your addition, is that about the same elevation as the rest of your home as well, or how is that? Is that higher?
It is higher than the existing floor, because the home was built in 1917. They weren't thinking about these things back then. So there will be steps up to get into that addition. So like I said, just to keep it up out of the flood zone, because we don't want to, we don't want to have any impact really on or as minimal impact as possible on the existing floodplain. So yeah, there will be one or two steps up to get to the addition, the final.
Yep, that makes sense. So then you're going to have it like supported so that it's open underneath the addition. You're going to have
Correct.
it supported by, okay.
Yeah, so on the plan, I think there is a foundation plan attached. But yeah, it's going to be corner piers, essentially, foundation walls, but not fully all the way around. They're going to be, in the corners and, pier in the middle and, to support the structure, obviously. And that'll be down, and so there'll be a footing, obviously, to keep it anchored and all those things.
And how long have you lived in the home?
I purchased the home in 2015, so we've been here just about 6 years. Yeah, 6 years this June.
And did you have any flooding problems in your home?
I have not had any flooding issues. It's an old house. It is a fieldstone foundation, so when we do get very heavy rain, there's minimal. A little bit of water comes in the basement, and actually this addition and where this rain garden will go should actually help mitigate a lot of that. And we're going to work on getting the rainwater away from the existing house as part of this project.
Okay. Yep. It looks good to me. I don't have any issues with your proposal. Thanks for your help.
Yeah, thank you for your questions.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else? Again, anybody else from the public? All right, if not, all right, Zoom is turned off, so I'll ask him, I'll unseat him for this one. Someone like to make a motion to close the hearing?
I'll make the motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, motion by Tony, second by George. All in favor of closing the hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All right. Anyone like to make a motion to start the discussion?
Make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman. I can't think of any conditions.
All right. Motion by George,
I'll second the motion.
second by Tony. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Motion carries. All right. Next item, 3.4, public hearing, application number 207321Z, Wells Road Associates LLC, seeking a re-subdivision at 687 Silverstein Highway. Is someone here to speak on behalf of the applicant?
Members of the commission, Kevin Johnson, Phil Jensen and Miller. So the subject property is located at the intersection of Wells Road. It was located at the intersection of Wells Road and Silverstein Highway. I'm not sure you can all see the plan. Denise, can you let me share my screen?
Yes. I think you should be able to now, Kevin.
Okay. Can everyone see the plan?
Nope. Oh, there it is.
There it is, good.
Okay. So everyone can see it?
Yes.
Set.
Okay. So again, for the record, Kevin Johnson, Close Jensen and Miller. The subject property, it's located at the intersection of Wells Road, Silverstein Highway, the northwest quadrant. Wells Road is located to the left, Silas Dean Highway to the bottom of the sheet, direction north is to the right. The site, it consists of 2 existing masonry buildings. The larger of the 2 buildings has existing tenants. The smaller of the 2 buildings, the northerly building, that's a vacant building, used to be the site of now formerly Pelton's. The parcel is located in the town center zone and consists of about 4.6 acres. The proposal is to subdivide this lot into 2 separate lots. And just for some historical context and history here, 1950 mapping showed 2 lots. Circa 1965 mapping, these 2 lots were combined into 1. Then circa 1982, 57-71 Wells Road, that's an existing brick structure in the southwest corner of the parcel, was cut out, and the remainder was shown as 1 lot. So exactly when it was combined into 1 lot, not exactly sure, but that's the historical context. So again, the proposal is to split this lot into 2. The magenta line indicates where that line, property line is proposed, and that is the exact same location as the original lot line from the 1950 to 1965 mapping. So in terms of the zoning, again, it's in the town center zone. There's no minimum lot size requirements or lot frontage requirements. We do meet dimensional requirements for front, side, rear yard setbacks, building coverage, impervious coverage. We're well below what's allowed there, and we're below what's allowed for maximum height. In terms of parking, the 2 buildings combined, based on 5 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet. For the 2 buildings, we would need 209 spaces, and there's currently 241 spaces on site. Once, or if the re-subdivision is approved, parcel number 657, which is the northerly building, that would have a requirement for 75 spaces, and there's 115 spaces located on that parcel. The remaining parcel would have a requirement for 135 spaces, but there's 126 spaces located there. There's also a parking agreement on that second parcel to share 20 parking spaces with 57-71 Wells Road. So because, historically this site is operated as 1, and again, that magenta line, it kind of bisects the southerly entrance drive from Silas Dean. What the applicant and owner is proposing is to create cross-parking, cross-access easement agreements between these 2 parcels so that the site will continue to function as it has for decades. We did submit with the application draft copies of easement documents, and if approved, these documents would be executed legally and provided to the town staff for review and then filed on the local land records. We are in receipt of comments from the town engineer in a memo dated April 1st, 2021. We did address those comments. There was 1 comment regarding installation of concrete monuments at property corners. Unfortunately, that would have fallen into site driveways. I did discuss this with the town engineer, and we're going to substitute for the concrete monuments iron spikes to be driven into the pavement to mark those corners. I did resubmit a revised plan to the town engineer today. But I think that concludes my comments at this point, and would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. The applicant and owner, Mr. Stephen Neiditz, is also in attendance tonight, as well as Mr. David Sampson of our office. And if there's any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Yes, Kevin, George Eichel. Is the owner planning on selling either of the two? Or is he planning on selling both, maybe?
Mr. Neiditz,
Yes, he's there, right?
Mr. Neiditz, are you there?
I'm sorry, Steve Neiditz here, unmuted now.
Commissioner Eichel was asking what the intention is. Are you going to sell one or both parcels?
It is our intention to sell the vacant Rite Aid building. We haven't made such a deal yet, but we're hopeful that we will shortly. It is not our intention at the moment to sell the building, the southerly building.
Thank you very much. By the way, thank you for all your good service to the town of Weathersfield while I've been here for 53 years. And I'm glad you and Weathersfield Shopping Center, I assume that's also yours, I take it. And
Yes.
Thank you very much for all the good service over many years. And I hope you continue to do well and rent everything you've got.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eichel. I really appreciate that.
Well, you're entirely welcome. I meant every word of it.
Hey, Richard, this is David Drake. I got a quick question, possible?
Sure, yep.
You got the parking, I understand you got covered in the deed, but what if the new owner puts a wall up where the purple line is? Do we need to put something like that in? They can't do that? The reciprocal easement agreement that we've drafted, and I'm not sure which draft you put in. I think we have a subsequent draft that is not part of the application, but it will require that no such fencing or any structure would be put up to separate the two properties.
Okay,
So that they would continue to operate as they currently do.
okay, very good, perfect.
Yeah, I mean, that would be in the best interest of both owners.
Absolutely.
Good question for me. Because of the agreements and so forth regarding that property line, you see no issues, problems, plowing, or any issues if there's a new owner, one or the other, and there are agreements there, and there should be no difficulty backing in and out of the parking spaces on either side of it. Is that correct? You can kind of assure it. And Kevin can even help answer this too, you know, if he thought, you know, it should be okay. I don't see any problem down there now, and I don't see any because there's a line down the middle. Is there going to be any issue with even two different owners someday?
No, I mean, in terms of plowing and circulation, everything is going to remain as it is today. Both sites are going to function as they currently do.
I assume that would be the case, but I'm glad I'm hearing it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else from the commission have any questions?
Quick question, Rich, Tony Homeke.
Sure, Tony.
Kevin, or maybe Peter or Mr. Neiditz, if you could tell us a little more about the piece on the bottom right corner of this site. I think it's owned by the town, Savage Road Park of some type. Peter, do you have some insight on that parcel? I think it's vacant.
Yeah, it certainly is vacant, Mr. Homicki. The town has had a conversation in the past about whether they wanted to dispose of that property, and I think several years ago decided not to do anything at that time. So, but it is owned by the town. I think it's classified as either parkland or open space, so any consideration of disposing it has some ramifications related to our loss of parkland or loss of open space, and I think that's most likely why the town has decided not to dispose of it up to this point in time.
Okay, this is David Drake. I was on the town council when they were looking to sell that, and the neighbors went crazy. Yeah, the neighbors really the one that left it the way it was, so that's why they left it.
David, was it the intention of developing the parcel or just leaving it as open space? Do you remember what the case might have been?
Well, the neighbors just decided, they all came down en masse and said they really wanted to left it as open space. So it wasn't that big a deal, so, we looked at selling it because it didn't serve much of a park purpose, but the neighbors all liked it, so it wasn't that big a deal to keep it, so they kept it. Maybe be addressed again in the future, but that's where it was.
That's where it was.
About 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's even more complicated because the rectangle of land out there, like the northwest part of that is owned by Corpus Christi, not by the town, so that, neither of them really have much development potential without the other. And, it got complicated fast. All right, anyone else have any questions for the applicant? If not, it is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this? Kevin, could I ask you to unshare so that we can see people again? So
Sure, I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. Okay. All right. Yeah, last chance for any members of the public or anybody else that has any questions or comments on this application. All right. If not, someone care to make a motion to close the hearing? And for this one, I'll ask Yolanda to abstain. Okay. Motion from Tony. Is there a second?
Second, George.
All right, you guys are making a great team tonight. All in favor of closing the hearing, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Someone care to make a motion on the application? And it can't be Tony or George. It has to be someone else.
Good. I'm running out of breath.
I make the motion to approve. This is Dave. I make the motion to approve number 2073-21-Z, Wells Road Associates LLC, re-subdivision.
Okay, thank you. Motion by Dave Edwards. Is there a second? I'm sorry.
Second.
Who
I'll second.
Okay, Ryan seconds. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next application is not a public hearing. It's application 2074-21Z, 100 Great Meadow Road Associates, seeking to modify application number 2040-20Z to include mobile trailers for concessions, restrooms, and projector housing for an outdoor drive-in movie theater at 100 Great Meadow Road. Someone here on behalf of the applicant?
Yes, this is Chris Henney. For the record, I'm the owner of Putnam Park.
Hi. Okay.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you recall, we came before you last year with essentially a concept that Kevin Johnson, Close Jensen and Miller, and I put together to ascertain whether or not we could essentially build a drive-in movie theater in the west end of our parking lot. It was approved, and since that time, we have brought on board a cinema expert, given the fact that neither Kevin nor I were really, you could hardly consider us experts in that field. And basically, we're coming before you tonight because we now have solidified the way in which we would like to proceed with this so that it works very well. We took a shot at it last year, and there are certain, I think, minor modifications that need to be made in order for it to really be a first-class quality operation. We will be moving the screen a little bit to the west. We will be adding a small concession trailer, and instead of portalettes, we're going to have one of those luxury restroom trailers, which we think that this kind of operation should have. They're actually nicer than the bathrooms in my house. But in any event, I think I'd like to turn it over to Kevin Johnson now. David Zylstra, who is our cinema expert, is with us tonight also, I believe. David, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. So, Kevin, do you want to take it from there and put the plan up and basically show the commission the differences between what we showed them last year and where we are today?
Denise, can I share my screen again?
I just made you host.
Okay. Thank you. For the record, Kevin Johnson, Close Jensen and Miller. Again, just a quick orientation with the site plan. Great Meadow Road is to the left. Putnam Bridge, Route 3 is towards the bottom of the sheet. Connecticut River to the right in direction north to the top of the sheet. So as Mr. Henny mentioned, the plan is very similar to what we had last year. Again, the screen, it's slightly larger, slightly taller. It's been moved slightly to the west from where we had it last year. Immediately to the right of that is a concessions trailer. I should mention, these are all located in the existing landscaped island that runs down the center of that parking lot. And then immediately to the right of the concessions trailer is the restroom trailer, which Mr. Henny mentioned. We will be doing some excavation of that bermed landscaped island to create level areas, to create concrete pads on which the concession trailer and restroom trailer will sit. The screen itself is an air screen, and perhaps Mr. Zylstra can elaborate on that in a bit. But there is slight grading there to create a level area to erect that. The idea right now is to erect 2 flagpoles and attach the screen to those flagpoles. The green area, the green dashed lines, that basically represents the limit of the parking. It would be a 2-sided screen, so there'd be a viewing area on the north side of that landscaped island as well as the south side. Now, you'll recall from the presentation we made last year, we actually had curved the parking, and we were going to do some type of striping or coning or whatever to create, the parking spaces. But Mr. Zylstra feels, we don't need to go to that extreme, that we can just keep the existing striping. Certainly under, the pandemic and during these COVID times, we're still going to adhere to social distancing. So even though we say there's going to be 133 cars with the potential for 54 more, I believe the total is 187 plus or minus. During COVID, you'd probably be expecting about half of that amount. Again, just due to the social distancing between vehicles. There's 3 light poles, which Mr. Zylstra has identified would need to be removed, just so that they don't present obstructions to the viewing areas. So Mr. Henney is going to be engaging or has engaged a lighting consultant to look at the photometrics, to relocate those, as well as look at the remaining lights in the parking lot. Some of those lights were going to be obviously dimmed during movie showings. So again, we have a lighting consultant looking at that. In terms of the site circulation and entrance and ticket booth and so forth, again, what Mr. Henney is proposing is to sell tickets in advance online. I don't profess to know the exact mechanics of all of this, but I believe the ticket sales would probably be keyed into a license plate. There'd be 2 attendants, 1 attendant per each row of vehicles that are queuing, coming into the site for a performance. So there'd be queuing for approximately 16 vehicles in the drive aisle. So as you entered the site from Great Meadow Road, there'd be some type of temporary signage at the intersection of the site drive, which would designate anyone going to the restaurant to park, to go straight ahead, and anyone coming to the movie as they come into the site to turn to the right and get into either one of those 2 queuing lanes. And then there'd be 1 parking attendant in each of the north lot and the south lot to direct vehicles to a parking space. The other directional arrows, again, that's just generally how we envision the traffic flow to work, during movie performances, as well as operational times for the restaurants. Another change this year from last year, I believe last year we were proposing to have the projectors on some type of scaffolding of sorts. Now it's going to be actual projection trailers. Again, they'd be located, 1 in the north, 1 in the south. Again, generally in the same vicinity as what we had last year. The concessions trailer and the restroom trailer, they will require connections to public utilities, sanitary water. The projection trailers will need electric, as well as the concessions and restroom trailers. So we're also going to be engaging a mechanical engineer to work up the details for those connections, similar to what occurred in the back for the outdoor dining. Again, we're in receipt of a memo from the town engineer. We actually received this today. We have not had an opportunity to address these comments in the plan as of yet. We don't see anything that that we can't address or accommodate, and our intention right now is to just work closely with Mr. Greger and staff, to incorporate the modifications that he's looking for. So at this point, I think that concludes my comments, and if Mr. Zylstra has any comments to be made, I'll turn it over to him, or we'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay.
So the only comment would be the tickets with the various points of sale out there for theaters. It would be either a printed ticket with a barcode that guests can print at home, or they'll be able to show the confirmation on their cell phone and have it scanned from there with the barcode scanner. It's a very easy process. It's been done hundreds of times over in indoor cinemas and outdoor cinemas that I've been involved with.
All right. Did you have anything else before opening up to questions?
No, just ready for questions.
Okay. Anybody on the commission have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, Rich, David Drake, I assume this is seasonal? Maybe it was in the write-up, I didn't see it, but is this, I assume it goes up in the spring, down in the fall, the blow-up screen, or does it stay all year round?
No, we're gonna see if we can expand. We're gonna play it by ear, but the idea would be to try and have it be available year round. I know they do it in Dearborn, Michigan. There's a drive-in movie theater that's open year round there, and I figure that if Dearborn, Michigan can handle it with their weather, we should be okay.
Yeah, that's a cool idea, the whole thing. It's pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah, my recollection from last time was that the sound comes in through your FM radio in the car, or was it some other way?
No, that's correct. But David, you want to address that?
No, that's correct. Just FM, a very low power FM broadcast that covers the parking lot.
Okay. Yeah, just so that it wasn't going to be loudspeakers blasting Lion King all over Old Weathersfield all hours of it.
No. That'll come through your car radio.
What do you do when a real windy day comes up? You have to take that thing, take the screen down, or is that good for that? I assume it's good for it, but, you know.
Yeah, it depends on, if we're talking about hurricane force winds, we'd simply take it down. It can come down evidently. David, can you address that? I think it comes down in like 10 minutes, doesn't it? Or,
yeah, it's inflatable, so as soon as you pop the cork, it'll just fold right down to the ground.
So it's like one of those jumping things with a blower that runs all the time type of thing, or is it more permanent than that?
Basically just like that.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Interesting. Okay, Tony.
Kevin, you don't see any problems with the items that Derek had? He did ask about what lights will be turned on and off with the shows. Will there be lighting still up by the building for the evening people at the restaurant?
Yeah, again, those lights would remain. And again, as I mentioned, Mr. Henny's going to be engaging, a lighting consultant to look at repositioning those lights and looking at the photometrics of the remaining lights.
And it looks like you have plenty of parking, so that's not an issue at all. Can I ask how much of the office building is occupied?
we're probably right now at about 90%.
Okay, so you don't see another 100 cars distracting from this?
No, we've never used all the spaces we have.
Congratulations, Chris. I'm glad to have you all leased up. That's great.
Well, thank you.
Stealing stuff away from him down in, where is it you work down there, Tony?
You talking to me, George?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
I got a golden spoon in my mouth, Gage. That's okay. I thought you were going to mute you. Rick, I thought you were going to mute him for the rest of the night.
Mute George? No. Not yet. Not yet.
Good luck, Chris. It looks like a good plan.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Pleased to see you, Chris.
Thank you.
How's the restaurant going? Good?
Oh, yeah, it's been, it's obviously difficult operating at 50% capacity. Now, you hear that we're allowed to go to 100% capacity, but the problem is, as soon as you keep the social distancing, you're still really at 50% capacity.
Yeah.
So it didn't really mean much when he said you can go to 100%, because it's not really 100%. But we're getting ready to open up outdoors, and, we got those heaters in, and they've been a godsend. They were great in February when the temperature was 30 degrees, 28 degrees. People were sitting there without jackets on. It's really remarkable.
Hey, are you going to will you have parking barriers of some sort? Let's say you watch the movie 8, 9 o'clock at night when it's dark, and people come in to go to your restaurant. How do they not just drive through where everybody's watching the movie? Is there going to be something temporary that says you got to drive around, or have you thought that through yet?
Oh, yeah. Kevin, you want to take that?
Yeah, I don't think we're planning on doing any barriers through, the center of the parking lot. I think the plan is, with the attendants, again, there's going to be 2 at check-in and 2 in each
So there'll be people waving them around then?
So, yeah, there'll be an attendant,
Yeah.
in each of those two lots, during the showing of the movies to, make sure people are adhering during COVID to social distancing, and, if they are going to sit outside their vehicle, that they're not set up in the middle of an aisle, and then to help direct traffic at the end of the movie. So we're not planning on putting up, more barriers.
Because we're also going to take care of it with the directional signage. It's going to be really kind of intuitively obvious which way you're going to go to get to the restaurant, which is obviously going to be in the building, and then to go to the right for the cinema. So
No, I'm just thinking out loud. I'm just thinking, people there with families, the kids go to the concession, they run across the park, and people may be driving through to go to the main building, that's all.
Oh, no,
That's
that's
taken care
not,
of. Yeah.
that's not going to happen, because we're going to be monitoring that entrance, because that's obviously where people are coming in, and we're going to make sure nobody, after the movie starts, that'll basically be shut down.
Okay. Good.
Good. All right, anybody else have any questions for the applicant? All right, this is not a public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, Rich, are we happy with the lack of response to the town engineers? Few comments, they made, I don't know, I think I read them tonight. I didn't see anything serious there, but.
No, I was gonna suggest that we just have, compliance with any outstanding comments from the town engineer be a condition of the approval.
Okay, makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it's not a public hearing. If there's nothing else, does someone care to make a motion?
Yeah, excuse me, one more, Red. The applicant, Chris, are there any of the issues that you mentioned that you're gonna be doing? We have to get involved in any of them, you think? And Denise, do you think any of them, would require our approval in any way, subsequently or otherwise?
You mean the open items with the engineer?
Yeah. I don't think so.
No, I think with the condition, that it be addressed to the satisfaction of the town
staff.
engineer is sufficient.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think any of those would require a complete or a material operational change in what he's proposing. It's just, either clarifying things or, dealing with the rights and so forth and answering questions. It wouldn't be a wholesale change.
I would agree, yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. Does anyone wish to make a motion on this application?
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman. Conditions, I can't think of any at the moment. Denise, do you sense any need to be made?
It'd be per the town engineer, wouldn't it?
Just to address the comments of the town engineer.
Okay.
I'll second the motion, just because I can.
Okay. All right. Motion by George, second by Tony, to approve subject to satisfactory resolution of the issues from the town engineer. Is there any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Henning, when are you going to have it operating, do you think? July 1st? Earlier?
We're trying to get the, we've got a hold on the two projectors that we need. And David, where are we on the screen? Do you have any update on that?
No update yet. We're just waiting for them to confirm their delivery window.
Okay. So but we do have the projectors are lined up, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we have those locked in, making sure nobody else can take ours.
Yeah, that's the important one, because the projectors, these are projectors that allow to first-run movies to be shown, and that was critical. If you recall, last year I made it clear that we wanted a real quality operation and do not just DVDs, but we're going to be doing first-run movies. So we expect to see you out there to see Black Widow, George.
Okay, thanks.
Chris, will you be owning those projectors or leasing those?
What's that?
Will you be owning those projectors or leasing them?
No, we're owning them.
You'll be owning them.
Yeah.
But they'll be gone by October 1st, Tony, so. All right. Anything else? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, ladies.
Have a good night.
Appreciate it. Good night
You
now.
too. Take care. All right, next item, 3.6, application 2075-21Z, Oscar Vasquez, seeking site plan and design review in accordance with section 5.2, permitted uses of Weathersfield zoning regulations to operate a smoothie shop at 48 Silas Green Highway. Mr. Vasquez, could you just give us your name and address for the record, and please tell us what you would like to do?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. My address, 48 Silas Green Highway, Weathersfield, Connecticut. And our project is a smoothie shop that is a nutrition place in which we're going to have cold drinks and hot tea, instant tea.
Okay.
Yes.
Denise, any issue with parking there at the building?
No.
I think there looks like enough of it around to the side, the north side, you know, particularly.
I don't think
Okay.
that parking will be an issue with the addition of this use.
Okay, thank you.
How many employees do you anticipate having there?
Just one.
Okay. The application says open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Saturday, takeout only. No table service for now is what you've indicated. Is that accurate? That's what you plan to do?
Yes.
Okay. What was in the space that you're taking over? If you know.
It's 270 square feet.
Mr. Lucas, you are unmuted if you wanted to speak.
Yes. When the pandemic came, we lost the dance studio, and Mr. Vasquez's space also is a family-oriented dance, and he also went out of business. So that's the story. I do want to add, before I forget, I want to add that I want to thank all the volunteers tonight, of course, the staff, giving up their time.
No, thank you.
Yes.
Is this the only thing in the building? How many businesses in there?
On the second floor, the only other business is a karate expert. Again, that's personal hand-to-hand combat, and they also, they're on limited staff. It's one owner, but limited number of people.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's plenty of parking there.
Yeah, here's the, to me too.
Yeah, I've owned the building now over 30 years, and you can go by any day and still find spots open, even with the church as well. Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant?
I have a question. So a question I have is, I was taking a look at the building through Google Maps. I didn't get a chance to check it out in real life. And so is access to the building, like through the front, through just one door? How will you get into the smoothie shop, I guess is my question.
Yeah, on the south side, there's one door going up, and that's a steel and cement staircase. And once you're up there, if you had to leave, there's another rear entrance.
Okay. So is the smoothie shop like on the first floor?
It'd be on the second floor.
On the second, you go upstairs. Okay. And then the other question I have is some notes that our planning and zoning are, I think that Peter provided. It says that the applicant's not proposing any exterior site improvements. So there isn't going to be any improvements to the building itself, but will you be putting up a sign somewhere?
I told Mr. Vasquez any signs have to be approved by the town.
Okay.
But he hadn't mentioned any signs to me.
Were you thinking of putting up a sign, Mr. Vasquez, for your shop?
Yes, that's the plan. In the future, put a sign in the front of the building.
Okay.
Yes.
And this smoothie shop, there's a lot of different kinds of smoothie shops. So is it, what type of, is it like for, what kind of smoothie shop is this? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Basically, this kind of product, we call it nutrition, right? I don't know if I can say any brand, but it's for nutrition. I can say that I don't know if you guys heard Herbalife. That's a protein shakes, smoothie.
Okay. All right. That's helpful. Okay. Thank you. Those are all the questions I had.
All right, good, thanks. Does anyone else have any questions for the applicant? This is for Denise and Peter. I assume there were no comments from any other town staff or the engineer on this at all?
I hadn't received any other comments from any of the other departments.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it would probably just be health department, since food's being served, but that's nothing we need to hold up for.
Wait a minute, Denise. Our town engineer is he worries these days about drainage from every site we deal with. And he doesn't worry about this one?
There's no exterior site improvements proposed.
Yeah, that's the reason. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just basically a change in tenancy, so it'd be kind of unfair to make them rebuild the whole parking lot.
Right, exactly, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else have any questions? All right, if not, so this time I think I'll ask Dave to sit it out.
No problem.
And Yolanda and Hazim can participate. Someone care to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yeah, this is
All
Ryan.
right, second from Ryan, motion from George, second from Ryan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Congratulations and good luck.
Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Vasquez? Okay.
Yes.
You got approved.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Welcome.
You too.
Me too.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, next item, 3.7, application 2076-21Z. Damira Gajoni seeking site plan and design review in accordance with section 5.2, permitted uses of the Weathersfield zoning regulations to operate a cafe at 446 Celestine Highway. The applicant here.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Okay.
How are you?
Good. Could you just give us your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Fatmira Joni of 15 Emerson Street in Weathersfield, Connecticut. Let's tell you a little bit about myself. I've been a resident of Weathersfield for the past 16 years. I moved here from Greece. I've been in the food industry for over 20 years. So I've worked from Fairfield all the way to Haddam all these years in all kinds of restaurants. The past 7 years, I've been working for Chips Family Restaurants. I was a district manager. I've been very involved with the community. My kids go to school here, so we do all kinds of fundraisers. I'm part of a lot of clubs that we try to help other people. I work with our mayor here, Michael, to help families as much as we can, but especially now through COVID. And my dream has always been to open my own little store, and I thought this is the best place. I love to be here close to my kids and in the town that I love. What I'm looking to do is I want to open a cafe, but also have fresh squeezed juices, smoothies, and crepes, sandwiches, and salads. Also, we want to work with local markets to kind of have local products as a market, because it's going to be as a marketplace as well. So I want to work with local farms, get all local products, also some important products from Greece, like honey and olive oil. It's so far everything, it's pretty simple. We have 600 square feet of seating area. Our prep area is going to be on the first floor, which is the basement. And then we'll be making our coffees on the upper level. We have 15 parking spots, which is plenty for the amount of seating that I have. The idea, what I want to do is I want to have affordable prices and mostly grab and go kind of idea.
Okay. All right. According to Peter and Denise's memo, you have more parking spaces than are required by zoning with respect to the number of employees and seats, which is good because that, it's kind of a limited site in terms of where, there's no opportunity for on-street parking or anything like that there, so that's good. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? We'll take that as a no.
I don't, yeah.
All right. So if there's, again, nothing? All right. Dave, just for fairness, I'll ask you to sit this one out too.
Yeah, no
And
problem.
Hazeem and Yolanda will be seated. Does someone care to make a motion?
Making a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Motion by George, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Yolanda. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, when is she planning on opening? I'd like to know.
I'm really hoping that I can open by May 1st.
Okay.
Good.
What's going to happen to all the
I hope I can
Italian
see you
men?
guys all
that
there. Excuse me?
Wish you the best.
All right. Okay, motion's made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank
Opposed?
you very much.
Abstentions? Okay, congratulations. Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
luck.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, moving on. Other business. Next, March 2nd minutes. So people had a chance to look at those. I think the only comment I had was that we had too many people voting. We should only be 9 people voting at any given time, but we're going to figure that out. Anybody else have any comments on the minutes for March 2nd?
Nope.
No?
No? All right, is there a motion to approve them?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Tony. Is there a second? You know, limited number of opportunities to get your name in the minutes here for you people that haven't seconded any motions yet.
I can second that.
All right.
There you go.
Hazim beat you.
There you go.
Okay, any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thanks. Any staff reports?
I have nothing additional to report.
Okay. And Peter is there. Do you have anything? you wanna tell us about?
Nothing from me.
Okay,
I missed,
thanks.
I missed the very first part of the meeting. I was a little bit late, so you continued or rescheduled the hearing on the fence regulations?
We opened it and immediately continued it to the next meeting.
Okay.
But I did say that I had talked to you about that, and you know, Denise forwarded a whole bunch of correspondence this afternoon, and you had also mentioned that maybe some graphic examples would be helpful for us to sort of sort through those kinds of things.
Yeah, I would agree, Mr. Chairman. I'm a little concerned with the negativity showing up today and from people in town. But I hope we can resolve or hear out some of it so that we can understand it better.
Yeah, I mean, and my sense is that some of it might be misunderstanding or misinterpretation, but, you know, I think, you know, frankly, with so many items from people wanting to, you know, open businesses, I thought it was better to kind of get that one off to an agenda where we'd have an opportunity to sort of deal with it at our leisure rather than.
Sure. Everybody that's had a fence problem or a complaint is commenting, you know, and so forth and so on, if we haven't resolved it. So, and what are we doing here? When we said such and such, especially the art show issue, so keeps coming up. But,
right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, let's work at it, that's all.
Yeah, we'll get it done. And then there are 3 pending applications for future meetings that look like it'll give us plenty to talk about. Anybody else have anything they want to discuss before we adjourn? All right. If not, thank you all for your endurance. Someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion so made.
I'll second it.
All right, motion made by George, second by Tony. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Thanks very much.